Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of the Dubai Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host Tahir Majid here. I'm really excited for this episode today. Why? Because joining me on the show is my original producer, Mr. Raj Kotecha, who has now become a high flyer shuttling between Dubai and London. He was the one who actually got me started on my podcast journey, not just podcast journey, but on my content journey. And while he was here in Dubai, I thought it was really important to get him on the show. And he had some questions about Dubai real estate. He understands Dubai's landscape very well. So I thought, why not get in a few episodes with him? So now, without wasting any further time, we'll start the episode. But guys, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell to stay updated. Your likes, comments, and shares are really appreciated. If you're listening to this on Spotify, please do follow us there. And if you're listening to this on Apple Music, please do give us a 5-star rating and review. This really helps us getting discovered. And now, let's cue the music. Hey Raj, welcome back on the show. We're back to where we started from.
It's such a full circle moment.
Yes.
You've got a wonderful studio. We've got a long list of subjects that we need to cover.
Yes.
I am obviously based between London and Dubai right now, so I've got this kind of objective, subjective view of what's going on in the industry.
True.
And I had some questions because we were catching up, and we figured the best place to do it is here on your podcast, which we started now 5 years ago.
Yeah, a little under 5 years, I would say. Yes.
Yeah. So we have to have an anniversary party for that. The subject that I think people want to talk about today is 2026.
Yes.
And what are some of the big key themes in 2026? We have had a massive few years, every single quarter, new numbers coming out, records being broken. However, there is an air of stability coming now, I would say, where everything has been up and to the right for a while. How long can that be sustained? The big focus point in the room subject-wise is oversupply.
Absolutely.
So I thought a good place to start would be for those people that are hearing the term but haven't yet participated as an investor or property purchaser in Dubai, define what oversupply is in simple terms.
So, Raj, in a very simple manner, layman's term, oversupply is a situation when we have more number of houses and less number of buyers and tenants to actually occupy those houses. Okay, when the demand is less, the supply is more. That's, in simple terms, an oversupply situation. But what I would like to add is that when it comes to an oversupply situation, that doesn't really happen overnight. So it's not that tomorrow morning you wake up and there's oversupply. For a market, especially real estate market, to come into a situation of oversupply, it takes a good amount of time. Why? Because when a project launches today, it's not ready today. And oversupply can only happen once the houses are ready. Just because X number of off-plan launches have happened doesn't mean the market is oversupplied. Oversupply happens once these houses which were launched are complete and ready to occupy. So, so in simple terms, that's the oversupply situation.
And so therefore, economically speaking, you can't go from undersupply, which is where we are right now because we're seeing how many sales are going through,
Yes.
to oversupply overnight.
No.
Effectively, if you imagine it like a seesaw,
Yes.
then to go from this to this, you're also going to go through a period of equilibrium,
Absolutely.
surely. So you're going to go from undersupply to balanced supply to then oversupply.
Yes.
And that time of balanced supply, that's probably going to be 2 to 4 quarters, right? Where you're
Yes,
cruising.
absolutely. Look, Raj, what happens is, in real estate markets, when when the markets shift from an undersupply to an oversupply, obviously what happens is one stage is where you're undersupply, which becomes like a seller's market, where sellers are asking whatever prices, the prices go up. Then comes this phase where the markets get stabilized, where the market is pretty stable. Prices are not going down, not going up much. So that's called a stable market. The rents are also holding up to a certain level.
Supply and demand.
Supply demand are kind of balanced. And then to get into an oversupply situation, it's a situation where a lot of new homes have been handed over. They're sitting vacant. Typically, if an apartment used to take, say, 4 weeks to rent, it's taking 3 months to rent. Okay, instead of getting, say, 100,000 as rent, you're now getting offers of 90, 85 for that same apartment. That's an oversupply situation. Now, this doesn't happen overnight, and as you said, this could take 2 to 4 quarters easily for the markets to shift into this complete oversupply situation. Now, the big question is, will we see that situation or no?
It seems like such a foreign concept today.
Yeah.
Like as we go into 2026, the idea of apartments sitting empty with no renters or builds with nobody buying them at the moment,
Yes.
that just seems like an impossible scenario that we could be in. And if you're saying that even if we ever got there, the market would almost give you like a 1 to 1.5 year warning
True.
that we're going there, and we don't seem to be there right now. But if there was such a 1 to 1.5 year warning, we know that there's going to be what I'm calling right now the great handover, which is end of 2027, beginning of 2028. When this handover happens, a lot of new landlords will get their set of keys. They will decide, do I want to live in this place like I thought I did? Have I made the capital appreciation that I thought I would, and therefore do I exit? Are the yields higher and lower than I thought I would get when I purchased this property in 2025? Can you zoom us out to that kind of era? And when you zoom us out to that era, what does that mean in terms of decision making in 2026?
Okay, so very important to understand in this whole situation is you have to understand and you have to analyze the data. We're fortunate enough that the Dubai Land Department and the DLD have done an amazing, job when it comes to data. And this data can be accessed by all, but not everybody knows how to interpret this data. If we see the number of units coming in, now recently there was a report which said 150,000 units will get handed over in 2026. Now, if all these 150,000 units get handed over in 2026, yes, we will go into an oversupply situation. But the question is, will all these units get handed over in 2026? The answer to that is, I don't think so.
Why?
Historically, when I say historically, I'm taking, say, last 5-10 years, on an average, Dubai, year on year, hands over as a city about anywhere between 30 to 40,000 new homes get ready. Now, 2023 saw a lot of new launches, close to about 100,000 units. 2024 saw even more launches, 160,000 units being launched. Whereas till now, we've just finished Q3 of 2025, close to 78,000 units have been launched. Now, this is the launch side of it. Now, let's talk about handovers. This year alone, the anticipated handover for 2025 was 58,000 units. Up until now, we're recording this in October, and up until September 2025, only 25,000 units have been handed over, right? So, number one, will the balance 33,000 units get handed over in 2025? No. We're not seeing those many handovers happening, okay? Now, they're saying 150,000 plus units in 2026. In all practicality, it's not possible for all these projects to get completed by then. Now, these handover dates are anticipated handover dates. Even when you see documents, they write ACD, which is anticipated completion date. This is anticipated. That doesn't mean that the anticipated date will be the exact date when the handovers happen. And let me tell you that this is not something which is being done on purpose or anything. But what happens is when you talk about big projects especially, see smaller projects, if you're talking about a G+4 building, G+8, 10, right? Those to complete in a short span of time is easier. But when we talk about larger projects, bigger projects, layouts, master developments, say for example, Palm Jebel Ali, right? Palm Jebel Ali, if today the developer is not just developing the house there, right? To build that villa probably will take only 1 year or 2 years. But it's not just about that villa, right? It's all about the infrastructure, the roads, the electricity, water, drainage. Everything has to be done, right? Similarly, a lot of other master plans have been planned, and for these master plans to get completed, it's not just about building that house. It's about doing up the whole community. And these things take time. Delays often happen, even as per RERA, okay? As per the Dubai Land Department, if a developer delays a project by 1 year, it's an acceptable norm. So delays do happen, and not because the developer wants to, but there are a lot of factors beyond a developer's hand also. sometimes delay in construction material, right? Shortage of labor. A lot of people are not realizing there's a huge shortage of laborers today in UAE because of so much construction happening, right? Now, all these developers have launched these projects. Once the launch happens, then a contractor is called, is appointed, So this whole process is taking much longer than anticipated. So, in my opinion, all these homes are not going to get handed over in one go. Yes, 27, 28, these handovers will get completed. But one thing which is different to Dubai is, and other markets, is that you have to also understand the population growth. Now, even in 2023, people were anticipating a correction in 24. Then in 24 end, people were talking about a correction in 25. Now, why did this not happen? Right? If you see, numbers and all, probably this correction should have happened. But why it's not happened is because of the population growth. Now, if Dubai keeps attracting talent and people to come and move here to Dubai and live, then we definitely need these houses. The government's target, and we did an episode on, years back on the Vision 2040, right? The government wants to grow the population, and they have a target of a population growth by 2040. Now, in order to achieve that, they need these homes to come ready. And if we are seeing that, historically 30, 40,000 units are getting handed over, I don't see in 1 year 100,000 units getting handed over. I personally believe, and I could be totally wrong for that, but I personally believe that if you put all the contractors together, I don't think there's capacity to deliver 100,000 homes in a year. Okay, so I think this is, yes, there are anticipated completion. There'll be delays. People see. I have no doubts on the handovers. They will happen. People who bought properties, they will get the keys. But delays are a very normal part of this industry. And in construction, delays happen. Sometimes it's not just because of the money. People think it's because of money, but it's not about money. It's also about, sometimes there could be some technical difficulties, change of, like supply of material. In between, we had a situation where the Suez Canal was blocked, right? So a lot of shipping routes were affected. But there's I personally know of some projects where the materials got delayed by 3 months. Now, what does a person do in that, right? It's delayed, it's delayed.
Yeah, it's interesting that you made this point about infrastructure because you're right, you can put up projects left, right, and center, but if the road networks going in and out don't support that, then you have a problem. And what we have seen in the last decade in Dubai is we've actually seen an oversupply of infrastructure versus the projects in the sense that you could always get in and out of downtown Business Bay, and it didn't matter how many towers
Yes.
came up, there was plenty of infrastructure to deal with it. Now we're getting to the stage whereby the number of properties and handovers are increasing, and now the roads are starting to feel more congested. And I think that that's even further amplified by the fact that you've got so many great affordable cars. If you move to Dubai right now, you can buy a brand new Chinese car, electrical car, that is on par, if not better, than the traditional manufacturers,
True.
giving everybody the option to have a car. That segues nicely to my next point, which is 2026, maybe the second biggest topic right now, and one that I've experienced on this trip now that we are well into the Dubai season, which is traffic. It's very real.
Yes.
And the last time I was in Dubai was during Ramadan, and it felt like driving around in 2018. It was
Yes.
completely fine because obviously there's less traffic on the roads. But now I am in full throttle traffic, no pun intended. It is serious. It's acceptable in the sense that it maybe makes a 25-minute journey into a 35, 38-minute journey. So you can price it in every single day. When are we going to see that tackled and how?
See, number one, I feel traffic definitely has grown. There's no denial in that. And I think this will remain that way. I feel even if, no matter how much infrastructure upgrade happens, they're definitely working on a lot of solutions for the traffic. But I don't think we'll go back to 2018 kind of traffic.
Yeah.
Okay. This will become the new norm. But yes, there are a lot of infrastructure projects which are happening in the city to tackle the traffic. A lot of major road upgrades happening. Along with that, I
Well,
think.
how do you upgrade a road? Is there any examples of like
So I'll give you an example,
innovations?
right? What they've done is, one thing I have to say that the RTA, the Road Transport Authority here, does an amazing job because I personally am very interested in seeing how they do things and stuff. And every time you think that this is how will they tackle this, and they come up with some brilliant idea. So just to give you an example, right? So they just created a new bridge to enter Mall of Emirates. If you're coming from Marina, like if you're coming from the Abu Dhabi side, if you had to go to Mall of Emirates, you had to get into Barsha, go around, and then enter Mall of Emirates. They just created a bridge right from Sheikh Zayed Road, which takes you in. They had this on the other side, which is coming from downtown, but now it's like even coming from Abu Dhabi side, you directly enter. Now, and it was I think they built it in record time. I think, I don't know how many, few months. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, this bridge is open. And this is my daily commute, right? I pass by that road daily to go back home. And I'm like, one fine day, I'm like, oh, how did this open, so soon? So, stuff like that. Plus, they've done a lot of upgrades, even towards the area where you have Maritime City, Rashid Yachts in Marina, Dubai Island coming. There they've prepared well in advance. So a series of flyovers, bridges, and you now you go and the roads are completely different. So number one, the RTA is doing that. A lot of cycling and scooter tracks also coming around the city, especially in densely populated areas where people do not want to take cars for smaller commutes. A lot of people are now opting for electric scooters, cycles, and they're building infrastructure around that in a lot of places. Especially in areas like, say, Al Quoz, Barsha, they're doing these things.
Even in Business Bay, you can get
Yes.
from one end of Business Bay to
Exactly,
another
and it's
on a
it's
scooter
on
or
a
bicycle.
scooter or bicycle, and it's much easier. So I think that is happening. Also, of course, we know that the new Metro Blue Line is announced. Work has started on that. That's coming in, and there are other plans for other metros connectivity as well. So if we see the 2040 blueprint, the ideal target of Dubai is to have a public transport within 800 meters of any person's reach, especially in good populated areas. So that will also help. But of course, these infrastructure projects do take time. They don't happen overnight. It requires a lot of planning, execution, and Dubai does these executions really amazing. So it will take time. But at the same time, with the population growing, I feel we will always have this situation where peak hour traffic will matter, unlike any other city in the world, right? You do
Exactly the
see
same as any other city.
Yeah, any
You
other
go to
city in the
LA or
world.
London or
Yeah,
New York,
so
it's
I
busy.
think that
Yeah.
we have to get used to it. I don't think there's any thing. And look, I've always said this, that traffic is good for Dubai because traffic means people are here.
Yeah.
People are here. People are coming to the city, making the city their home. So that's I think is going to think.
I think another thing with the traffic situation in Dubai as well is that whilst it is quite congested on the roads, especially at peak times, outside peak times, it's probably only a minute or two additional driving
Yes.
time versus pre-COVID. And in addition to that as well, we've all experienced, and if you've lived in Dubai for more than 12 months, you've experienced this too, the moment where you're driving, your GPS tells you to take an exit that you've never taken before, and now all of a sudden, you're where you wanted to be 15 minutes earlier. So I remember a story a few years ago when I landed in Dubai, and I would normally go from the airport to downtown. And I had expected a set of time that would take, be it 25, 30, 35 minutes. And I got down there in like 20, 25 minutes. There was a huge cut, a beautiful flat, clean road where you're driving towards the Burj Khalifa. So even aesthetically, the road was really amazing. And I was like, what road are we on? And they were like, yeah, they just opened it over the summer. And I'd not been in Dubai over the summer. So the RTA does have a really nice way of surprising and delighting the people of Dubai with
Absolutely.
new roads and new innovations. You also mentioned as well in the past that they're now building roads underground as well, right? Like there's underpasses.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of underpasses also coming up in the city. They're trying to see. I mean, they're trying to, you know, identify the problems where there are problems. Like, for example, on Sukim Road, it used to be a really bad jam, but over the summers, a new underpass opened up near King's School, and now it's become free-flowing traffic. So, they're trying to obviously identify these things and work towards it.
So to summarize, we've talked about oversupply, we've talked about traffic. Where should new investors, people that already have a property portfolio in Dubai, where should they be putting their attention in 2026?
Okay, so number one, anybody who's concerned about oversupply and thinking of what I should buy, where I should buy, the most important thing is people, you need to shift their mindset and understand that Dubai, the kind of people coming to Dubai has changed. And because of that, the demand of certain type of units have changed. And what I mean by that, There was a time when, for rental returns, studios and one beds used to be the most in demand product. Why? Because studios would give you the best return, one beds would give you the best rental return, very easy to sell, and people used to just jump on studios. Unfortunately, even now people are jumping on studios, but I don't think that's the right kind of strategy in 2025, 2026. And let me explain why. Number one, what has happened is when we're talking about all this supply coming into the market, right? With all the launches which has happened till date, there's somewhere about 380,000 units which have been launched, okay, which are not yet delivered. Out of that, close to 180,000 units are just studios and one beds. 120 are just one beds. What that means is once all these units get ready, we'll have a lot of studios and one beds. But what has happened is, Raj, in the last few years, what we've seen is previously, typically, what used to happen, a person moving to Dubai used to be either a single person or a young couple wanting to come here, build their lives here, search for a job.
They call them dinks, double income, no
Yeah,
kids.
So, typically that was the thing. And for them, studios and one beds used to work the best. Now what we're seeing is, now we're seeing millionaires, multimillionaires, billionaires coming to Dubai. When a family is moving, right, or a millionaire is coming here, right, he's not looking at a studio or one bed. They're looking at two beds, three beds, and the larger units, right? That's the reason if we see the demand for the bigger houses, the mansions and the villas and all have gone above the roof. Now, obviously, not everybody can afford that, but a typical investor wanting to still invest and make the most in this market should look at a bigger unit, a two-bedroom, three-bedroom unit, four-bedroom unit. Why? Because the number of units in this category is extremely low, and the demand on this is increasing and will keep on increasing. Because with more families coming into Dubai, they require bigger units. So even if we talk about an oversupply situation and an imbalance, it's not going to happen across the market.
It's not going to happen equally across all different product categories.
Product categories,
Yeah.
right? So if someone's bought a townhouse or a villa, I don't see any issue happening in that because, again, very limited numbers. But if you're investing in 2026, I would say unless your budget is of a studio or a one bed only and you can't get a bigger apartment, I would ideally say look at a 2-bed, 3-bed apartment or a villa, townhouse, whatever. Basically, larger units will give you better appreciation and long term, your money will grow more on those. Rental return wise, ROI wise, they might be slightly lesser, but what happens is in capital appreciation, they cover up much more. So I would say look at those units. Don't just depend on studios and one beds because those are the ones they are usually being mass produced. Also, one more thing, what happens is typically if you go into any decent location, let's say a downtown, right? It's majority of the developers, 90% plus of the units which are one beds in downtown will not have a Burj Khalifa view. 2 beds and 3 beds you will find having Burj Khalifa views. Same way if it's a waterfront property, most of the one beds don't come with a waterfront view. They always the 2 and the 3 beds. So what happens is within a property also, the 2 and 3 beds are positioned in a much better location as compared to the one bed. So that's the reason even the capital appreciation on these kind of units is higher. Because when an end user comes, right, and that's where the shift has happened in the market. Previously, Dubai was only an investor market, and now it's turning into an end user market. And the end user buying is increasing day by day. Year on year, since 2016, I'm seeing end user buying increase. Now, with that shift in the market, what is happening is when an end user comes, their checklist is way more than numbers. They are not just looking at numbers. They want a good unit, a nice view, a spacious unit, closed kitchen, this, that, etc. So people need to understand that if you're buying today, think of who you're going to sell tomorrow and buy sensibly.
So that gives us a great view for 2026.
Yeah, absolutely, Raj. And look, anybody watching this, listening this, wants any help in investing in Dubai can definitely reach out to us, and we could definitely guide them through in a proper manner on how they should be navigating this real estate landscape in Dubai.
Okay, wonderful. Great chat.
Thank you. So, guys, that was me and Raj discussing all about the oversupply in Dubai's real estate market. If you're concerned about this same concern, if you want to discuss more, if you're interested in investing in Dubai's real estate market, do get in touch with me. Me or a member of my team would be happy to help you. I'm leaving a link below. You just fill out the form and we connect with you, give you a complete guided approach on how to actually invest in Dubai's real estate market. And we'll be back with another episode of the Dubai Real Estate Podcast very soon.